I was listening to the story about, it was a story of a family in Washington, and the little boy called the Bigfoot the Cowboy Man. And he had, apparently it had made an effort to steal this kid. And it hit me. My children were in that playpen behind me with nothing but a mosquito net over them. It could have crept up behind me and taken both of my children, and I wouldn't have known.
Father just got like a Mustang or something from Wyoming, okay? He had it out in the corral because he couldn't put it in the barn in the stalls with the other horses that would kick and made all the other horses nervous. Had a Seminole Indian working the horse trying to break it every day. So they had it out in the corral. This skunk ape snuck up behind this horse and grabbed it on its hind quarters. This particular horse kicks out, jumps over the corral, runs into the pasture, to get away. At this point, the rancher's out there just blasted away with the 30-30. Skunk ape runs into the swamp.
I went up there one day after that, or 2 days after that. I went up there and sat in the silence up there, and I'm telling you, man, it was free. It was crazy. There was a crazy vibe up there still. I did what I could to kind of get things under control, but I told her, I said, you need to get off this property. I feel like no matter how strong you are, it's almost like standing in the ocean. You can't stand still without moving your feet. You're going to get knocked over eventually, no matter how strong, whatever. You can't withstand a barrage of weird spiritual energy.
What's up, everybody? There she is.
Hey, y'all.
How's it going out there tonight? Hope everyone is doing well on this Friday evening. How you doing, Lisa?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing very well. Excited about round 2 with Mr. Zack Hall tonight.
I'm so excited because we get to talk about all the millions of things that we didn't get to talk about the last time, and I think it's going to be such a good show tonight.
I've said it so many times. You can tell the really good interviews when the time gets away from you.
Oh, yeah.
The hour flies by and you have no idea how it happened so quickly. And those are the fun ones. But the downside of that is you don't always get to talk about everything.
Right.
So Zack was awesome enough to agree to such a short turnaround and get back in here with us and give us a little bit of paranormal stuff tonight.
I'm so excited about the paranormal stuff. I think it's just, I can't wait for him to tell his stories. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. Let's get all this other stuff out of the way so we can bring him on. Guys, if you have not done so already, please hit that subscribe button. We would appreciate that greatly. If you've had an encounter and would like to come on and share it with us, love to talk to you about that. Shoot me an email to wayne@paranormalworldproductions.com. I would appreciate that. Also, I want to ask everybody, please go check out our website, paranormalworldproductions.com. Pick you up some merch, so show some support for the other shows, and all that good stuff. I want to remind everybody about Manimal Research, my research organization that I founded back in 2019. We are still out doing expeditions, gathering evidence, all that good stuff. So I want to invite everyone to head over to the Facebook group Manimal Research and become a member.
You have got to get up here to Arkansas, Wayne. I've been staking out a couple of places.
Well, why do I have to then? It sounds like you got it under control.
No, I need somebody to go with me.
Some activity going on up there?
Yeah, quite a bit. It's a place up on the Buffalo National River, and the people up there say that's where the wild men live. Wild men.
It's always amazed me what people have called these things throughout the generations, throughout the centuries, the years. And, that's how a lot of people don't know. That's how I got the name Manimal for my group. I didn't want to just throw out a bunch of initials like BFRO,
right,
and CBRO, all this stuff that all these Bigfoot research organizations. What I did was I Googled old names, the stuff that people used to call them.
Right.
old man or a hairy man, wild man,
Yeah.
uh, a whole bunch of stuff. And I saw a manimal on there, and somebody used to call them, didn't know if they were half man or they were half man, half animal. Were
Right.
they man? Were they animal? So they combined it together. And I just really liked that name. I threw an extra in the middle there, so if somebody was using it, they couldn't say I stole it from them. And yeah, that's how I come up with the name animal. But it's always fascinated me some of the things that they call them.
Yeah.
Boogers.
Oh, yeah, that's a big Arkansas one is the boogers, and I'm like, "What?" And then the three-toed monster for some reason, I mean, they've got, 5 toes, so but I've heard that before too.
I heard some of them have 4 toes. I've heard
Yeah,
that before. I've never heard of 3 though. It might be some kind of deformity or something.
I don't know.
Guys, if y'all have any questions for Zach, last time y'all hit him up pretty good, so keep them coming. He expects them. So if y'all have any questions for him tonight, please feel free to send those over, but do those in all caps, please. Make it a little bit easier on Lisa.
Please. And Neoma, she just popped a question. She said, "What river?" It's the Buffalo National River in Northwest Arkansas.
Is Naoma in there?
Yeah.
Hey there, Naoma. How you doing, ma'am? I love Naoma. Had her on just a couple of weeks ago. Her and Cam Buckner is another really good episode that we had.
Yeah.
Before we get going, I do want to share something, and Naoma got me thinking about this because, guys, a lot of you know I've been sharing these little short stories on on Paranormal Odyssey Live here, where you're at now, and sharing these little short stories. And my goal in doing that is not to give everyone all of the information, but it's just to open your eyes to new stuff like legends and urban legends and folklore and stuff like that. Come across some really, really cool stuff. And how I've been doing it is I've been using the same intro that I use on these episodes. I just think it's too long. The longest episode I've done has been like 20 minutes. Most of them are in the 10 to 12-minute range. So I wanted to come up with a new intro. And I made one today. And I'm going to play it right here. It's 33 seconds. I wanted a really, really short one. And this is what I'm going to start playing at the beginning of all of those short stories. I've done about 30, 31 of them right now, and it's something I'm getting some good response to it, so I'm going to keep doing it. But I want to play this new intro, and y'all let me know what you think about it. So here we go.
I love it.
That's it.
I love it.
All right. I appreciate it. You guys, let me know what y'all think about it. I shared it on Facebook as well, and feedback's pretty good on it so far. But yeah, let me know what y'all think. All right. All of that stuff out of the way. You ready to get Zach on here?
I'm so ready to get Zach on here.
All right. Let's get him on. There he is. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, guys?
Hey, Zach.
I don't know how excited I'd be, Lisa.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm so excited for like the paranormal stories you're about to blow everybody's mind with. I can't wait.
I'm just going to go ahead and say first, real quick, Wayne. That was a cool intro. I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, that means a lot. I appreciate that. Yeah, my wife has always been the one to make them for me. She does all of my art, and she gave me a little tutorial on how to do it and the editing software that she has, and I just do that together really quick, and I think it turned out well.
Yeah,
It's
no,
great.
I liked it, man. I think it's great.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Zach, I heard last weekend you were out in the woods with Mr. Russell Acord.
That's right, I was, and I wanted to really hop on with you, but we were going hunting. We had some plans to hunt and stuff, and he
okay.
drove all day to get to me, and so he was just like, "Let's just go do the hunt." So
So
yeah.
were y'all Bigfoot hunting or?
Oh, we were actually doing just some local paranormal stuff close to where I'm from, and yeah,
Cool.
just checking in on that, and uh, yeah, I mean, we got some videos and some stuff we'll post later, but it was a fun time. Russ, it's funny how since he's been and I don't know him before the show, so I can't really say, but like since he's been on the show and talked to all these experts in other fields and stuff, it's like I feel like even from season 1 to now, he's kind of starting to open up his mind to other things, and I'm like, nice, Russ, nice.
So you think he's opening up a little bit? Is that
I
what
think
you're?
he is. Yeah, I think he is. I mean, I don't know how
Because
much, but he's
he
he's
really.
talking more about things with me, and he's I mean, we put it was like a really boring 12-minute video of us sitting around a fire talking, and he started talking about his beliefs with UFOs and the paranormal side of things, and yeah, I was like, even me, I was like, well, didn't expect that. So
He definitely comes off as a as like a biological type guy, scientific minded. None of that orbs and portals and all that stuff.
But y'all caught some really good orbs a few
we
times.
yeah, we've got orbs a couple times, and then like I said last time with the little sparks and stuff that we saw, we didn't have it on film, but like it was just so we've seen some things that just those biological guys, well, you would question it if you were there. Like it's
Yeah.
and so maybe that's stuff too that's changing his opinion. Maybe it's our experiences out there, our long talks where he's like, oh man, if Zack feels this way, maybe I can.
Opening your hearts and spilling your deepest secrets.
Yeah, it's like girl time. We're just up there. Hey, let me tell you this.
But when y'all start braiding each other's hair, I'm going to get worried.
No, I don't think we could do that. When my hair was longer, if I asked Russ, he'd probably been like, listen, you're going to need to go somewhere else. Like, here's your PB&J I packed for you. Get out of here.
So we're planning on talking a little bit of the paranormal stuff this time because last time we spent the whole hour talking about Bigfoot and your career basically. Then heard that you've had some paranormal, some creepy stuff that you've experienced in your life, and I'd love to hear some of those.
Yeah, there's it's tough because like I feel like when you're around certain people, like things can open up or things can I don't know, me and Ronnie have talked about it a lot on set when we get to see each other. I think it's one of the reasons why Ronnie's a good addition to the team, in my opinion, is because somebody that's open to that stuff, more susceptible to it, it allows it to come to whoever's around. And I really had a handful of things happen when I was growing up. I'd always heard stories from my granny or stuff like that, but like always had that feeling of like, maybe not. I can make an excuse for it somewhere. And one of the first experiences happened. I was telling you, I had to find Wi-Fi. I came up here in this holler where I grew up, and one of the first experiences happened right out on the road here. I was probably about 12 years old, and my uncle lived just up the holler. And the street lights, there was a street light in one person's yard, a street light in our yard, and there was this whole big dark spot that we called the dead zone. When we were kids, we'd ride our bikes up and down the holler, and we'd talk about if we ever had to go there, the dead zone, because it's just pitch black. And every time I would have to go through the dead zone, I would just flat out sprint as fast as I could because I didn't want to be there long. And one night it was snowing, and my dad asked me to go up and get something from my uncle's. And I got to the dead zone, and I'm like, and it's pouring the snow. I can't run. The road's kind of icy, covered in snow. And I'm just kind of also not afraid of it because I'm a big boy now. I'm like, yeah, this is fine. And I'm just walking through the snow. And that sound that you hear when your feet crunches snow? It's just like, well, I heard other footsteps crunching snow. And so I'm like, okay, I got to get out of here. So I started running through the dead zone, and I got back to where there was light. And when I got to the light, I was like, and I stopped to see if I could hear it, and I could still hear it. And across the road from me, almost parallel to me, I seen footprints being made in the snow, and I just took off running. I was like, I'm not staying there, and took off to my uncle's house. I made my dad come to get me, and
shit.
that was
Wow.
like the first time I was like, oh, okay, this is not like my imagination making a booger man or whatever in my room, or like that was the first experience where I was just like, whoa,
That's creepy as hell.
Yeah.
it was scary. It gave me chills.
Is there a cemetery or anything around there or anything like that?
Not near the dead zone, but right down the road, the other way, there is. But no, I don't know why anything would be there. I don't know how to explain that. I could always, if I wanted to, say, oh, well, the crunching was just in my head, but I cannot deny seeing those footprints being made, like not footprints in the snow. They were like the impressions, and that was probably, that's really what opened me up a little bit.
I wonder what these skeptics and more scientific minded, like Marina, I wonder what she would say to something like that, to someone actually seeing footsteps manifest. I mean, you can't explain that.
No, I can't explain that. Like, that's not what a ghost would do either. I don't know how to explain just footprints in the snow and nothing there. And I think she would be open to it. She'd want to explore it. But I think the scientific side of her brain would be like, you just thought you saw footprints.
You had the predator after you.
I know, right? But we know how to get him. I could have just, laid in the snow and covered myself up, and he wouldn't have been able to see through that layer.
Oh, yeah. He could have called Arnold and come and take
Call the
care of
governor.
you. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You started it off with a good one, man. That's creepy as hell.
Yeah, that's and I mean, again, so that's just, I wanted to lead you into like my first experience, but like outside of that, I felt like it was the people I was around that kind of, brought that stuff in. I worked at a local college for a while, and they'd always told these stories of, places being haunted in it and buildings being haunted. And so me and one of my friends, we went into this big auditorium. We sat on this stage, we faced the seats for the crowd. We sit there in this place, we'd done it a couple of times before, and you'd always hear the weird cracks and pops and, all these sounds. And we were recording, and we actually have an EVP of somebody, just some man talking behind us, clear as day. I don't remember what he said, but he, like when we played it back, you could just hear, like we didn't hear, we were there. You hear it on the recorder. You hear this fella talking behind us, and just like that's something too that you're just like, well, that's weird. Like we just recorded that with a little handheld camcorder. That's not one of those apps where because I have trust issues. Sometimes I'm like, that app might have just threw something in there. This was on a old Sony handheld. So we started investigating more there to see what we could find. My friend told me that he had something chase him out of one of these buildings one night when he was locking up, and he felt like this wind pressure like go by him on the stairs when he was going down. And in that same building in the hallway, you could hear footsteps on top of the hallway, which is weird because it's a big, huge, like it's a college. So it's not like, you should hear somebody walking right up above you, and you could just hear just like this thing following us down a hallway. So to me, that place maybe holds that the opening to, if your mind's open to it, you're gonna see something, you're gonna feel something, or so. I think it's the place.
Yeah, the voice that you guys picked up on the camcorder, did you hear it when it happened, or is that something that you picked up later?
We picked it up later. He was watching it. I didn't even know about it until like years later.
I wonder why.
He's like, dude, I got an EVP that you got to hear. And I was like, oh, okay, let's hear it. So
it picked it up on, and like you said, I mean, I don't know what kind of camera it was, but you said it was one of the older, nothing fancy or special, just regular camcorder, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know why.
I don't know how to explain that. Yeah, and there was always at that place. There was always weird things happening. One night, we'd been working out in the gym, And I came down to go home, and it was like maybe 1 or 2 in the morning. And I'm walking towards my car, and you know how when you hit that unlock button, like the lights come on, it lights up. Well, in my car, in the passenger seat was just this what looked like a young girl in a white dress just sitting in my seat. And I was like,
know.
I turned, yeah. I was like, no, I think I'm gonna go back up to the gym. I'll get somebody else take me home. I'm good. And what's weird
No.
about it is like that used to be like this college is like it's a private college, and they used to have uniforms. And if like you go back long enough, like back in the 20s or the 30s, that's what the girls wore was like little white dresses and stuff. So I was like, man, I'm good. I don't want to fool with that. You can
That
have
car
that
would
car.
still be sitting there.
That's it. You can have that car. That's yours.
Yeah.
Hope you're 16 and can drive. But
Donate that car to the university.
yeah, it became the new police car.
Yes.
Wow.
That's oh my goodness. Zach, you grew up in Kentucky, Southern boy, like myself. Were you raised Southern Baptist in a religious background?
Oh yeah, old regular Baptist.
Yeah.
Regular Baptist. We just, it's everybody had a ghost story growing up. It wasn't taboo for the religion. It was just because the Bible spoke of you don't fool with demons. You don't go asking for them, and so like why would they not exist? If you want to read the Bible and live this religious life, and if you follow one thing, you for the most part should say, okay, everything in here is right. So that's the old regular Baptist way that they raised us. And if it's saying don't tempt these things, don't call on them, don't ask for them and stuff, they exist. If there's prophets, then there's demons. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I was going with that question, because being born and raised in Tennessee, my granny was she was always talking about God. I mean, she always had health issues, so she didn't get to go to church as much as she wanted, but she was always praying and talking about God, and a very religious woman. But she had a handful of ghost stories too, and I always wondered, was that just to keep us in line? Just whenever we were spending the night with Granny, to keep us in the bed at night, so we don't try to get out and do anything. But I don't know. There's something to them old stories, I think.
There is.
Yeah.
My grandpa and my grandma both, I mean, they grew up in Kentucky, and my grandpa, they never missed church, but my grandpa could witch water. I mean, people would hire him to find wells he could do that. I watched him do that so many times.
I mean, with the dowsing rods?
He would use a willow branch, like a forked willow branch. And then he's used the dowsing rods before too, but he used a willow branch more than anything that I saw him do. And my grandma could read tea leaves, and she could read palms, but I mean, they were very religious. They were in church all the time, but I just think those mountain people, there's just something about the old ways and what they believed in, and I can't explain anything that they were capable of doing, but they could do it.
I think it was maybe like less distractions and less people, more time to talk to God and be influenced by the demons. It's like, hey, you're talking to God too much. Let me give you some of these bad thoughts.
Yeah.
I mean,
and they lived really close to nature too. I think that the older people, they planted by the moon, they planted, they lived that close connection to nature all the time. And I think that just makes you more open or more spiritual. I don't know.
Yeah. And real quick, Wayne, I just want to tell you, my granny, I guess this was probably maybe a year ago. She had never told me this story. And one night we were just talking about stuff like this. And she talked about how she believed in it because one time when she was younger, I guess my mom was just a little bitty kid. She was mopping the floors in their old house, and she could not get footprints off the floor. And she thought it was the kids. And it wasn't. It was like she said she just kept scrubbing and kept scrubbing. These footprints would come back.
Oh,
And I was like,
Wow.
and she's like, I know that was something bad. She's like, that was a ghost or a demon or something, you know. And I was like, oh man, for Granny to tell me that, like, especially now, she wasn't trying to scare me. She's like, she wasn't trying to keep me in line. Like, just sitting there with a belly full of turkey. That's a good one.
yeah. I mean, especially telling you, like you said, telling you now as an adult, she's not trying to scare you. That
Mm-mm.
really happened,
And
and
it's something that I feel like she's telling you because it made a mark.
Yeah.
She felt that and she believes that. So
Yeah.
it stuck with her all these years. That's fascinating, man. Yeah, I wanted to pull this up here, but Carson made a comment. Water witching found most of the wells around us, and I guess tonight's the first time I've ever heard the term water witching when Lisa said it. So I guess that's a common thing. I'd never heard that.
Yep.
Was that referring to like a witch, like doing something magical?
That's just what my grandpa called it, witching for water, and people would come and hire him to find, where the best place to pop a well in, and he'd be on the money every time, every time.
Wow. All right, Zach, you got any more stories? Anything?
I mean,
creepy?
yeah, I got more.
Keep it coming.
So at this same place, I met this person, this lady that came into my life at the time, and one night she just calls and she texts first and she's like, "We need to talk when you get home," and that's always like a bad thing. Like, oh, that ain't good. I was like, "Just talk to me now. Just talk to me now." And she's like, "No, when you get home, it ain't nothing you got to worry about." I was like, "No, tell me now." I just kept pounding, "Tell me now." She's like, "Well, I was at your house and we laid down to sleep and the lights kept flickering on and off, on and off, on and off." I was like, "Well, that's weird. That's, I've never had that happen before." And then she said the day before she'd been moving furniture. And while she was moving furniture, the lights kept going on and off, on and off. The TV would go on and off. And I was like, yeah, it's probably just, the power or something. She's like, "No, I want to tell you, like things happen to me. I see things. I sense these things." And she's like, "I feel like there's like a Joker spirit living here, like something that just wants to play games and torment and just not hurt, but just joke." And I was like, okay, well, that's weird for one. And in my mind, I started connecting it back to this time that we were at the college and we were doing one of those investigations. And one of the pictures we had taken up in the rafters had what looked like a jester up in the rafters, just looking down, looked just like a jester with like its hat. And, so I was like, oh, well, what if like this thing attached and came home or because I was open to it. But after that, I was like, okay, well, that's something I want to be on the lookout for. And then one night she had a kid and I heard this kid just calling out to me that she was thirsty. She's like, I'm thirsty. I was like, all right, I'll get up and check. So I went and checked on this kid and she's just laying on the bed, face down, not awake, just sleeping. And I was like, ooh, that's spooky. So I went back into the living room, lay down on the couch. As soon as I lay down, I hear, "Zachy, I want some pink milk." And I was like, oh, I was so annoyed. So I got up and looked again, hadn't moved. And I was like, all right, well, if you want something, you're just going to have to get it. I know you're like 3, but so I went back into the living room and I sit down and then I hear the cabinets in the kitchen starting to pilfer and like move and open and shut. And I was like, oh, so she really was thirsty. She's got up to get her something. And I raise up and I look into the kitchen. Don't see nobody. Don't hear nothing. I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm just going to go to sleep now. And I just like close my eyes and could just hear it all night long. Just the cabinets.
Oh my
God.
Wow.
So I think this may be like the last story with that area. But I was working the night shift as a police officer at the time at that college. And I was called to come home. The girl that I was dating was like, she said, I woke up in the middle of the night and she had a sheet wrapped around her neck. And it was like, she was like being choked. And she said, all she could see was like a coal miner's hat. Those helmets they wore with the lights. She said, that's what she could see. And so she's like the ghost of a coal miner was choking her out. And I was like, all right, well, I'll come and check it out. I rode up there, went into the house, checked everything out, and I was like, "You're going to be fine. There ain't nothing to worry about." And I mean, honestly, I should be ashamed to tell you this story because of what a chicken I am. but I was like, "All right, you're going to be good." And I was walking out of the house, and I was walking down this hallway, and there was a mirror on the wall, and in that mirror, you could see the reflection back towards another window in the house. And I'm walking by it, and in that mirror, I see this silhouette of what looks like a man, and like you can see the brim of a hat and stuff standing in front of a window, just a silhouette. And I was like, I'm getting chills because it really freaked me out.
I am too.
I was like, well, I guess you're on your own. I was like, I'm out. I gotta go to work. I just walked on by and left because I was like, I don't mess with that.
How old was that house? I mean, was it like a rental house or?
It was a rental. Yeah, it was an older rental house, but I mean, I don't know. It was that was enough for me to be like, I don't want to fool with that. And me and her eventually went our own ways and didn't really have anything happen for a long time. I stopped. I wasn't at that college anymore. I wasn't with her. Like nothing for a while. Like absolutely nothing.
I think that Joker thing was an attachment.
I don't want to talk like that. I just did a Ouija board in Alaska. Let's not talk like that, Lisa.
No.
So weird that you just brought up Ouija board because that is on my list of things to ask you if you've ever tried.
Yeah,
and what your thoughts were about Ouija boards. Yeah. You want to go ahead and jump into that?
I don't know how I feel about Ouija boards. I mean, you hear all this stuff about them. I think maybe it's along the lines of how I feel about spirits and ghosts and stuff. I think if you're open to it and susceptible to it, then maybe something will speak to you on it. But I think everybody has to. So like if it's a group of people, I feel like everybody has to be in on it or believe on it, or it won't work. And I mean, in Alaska, we went into it because I was like, I don't want nothing to attach to me. Like we read the instructions. It's like, be positive, don't be negative, always say goodbye, all this stuff. So like I was sure to be like, all right, well, we only want to speak to good things, only good things, because we're out in the middle of nowhere. Last thing I want is something, haunting us out in a cabin, freezing to death. And everybody had a fun sense of humor about them. So I don't think at that moment anything bad was coming for us. It spoke to us about Phoenix. We were like, where are you from? And it gave us the letters PHX. And so we assumed it was Phoenix. It's the airport's call letters. But then afterwards, we were all like, well, what if it's meaning like, a phoenix? It rises from the fire. What if it was a demon? We're like, what? And so we were like, all right, well, we're just going to say good night to you. And we just logged off. But now, like Lisa talking about attachments, I'm like, what if, something attached to me there? Thanks, Lisa.
Oh, you're welcome. But I was just thinking about that little Joker thing that you saw at the school, and then it got described in that house.
Yeah, it was. I believe in that. I believe that you can have things attached to you. That's why the Ouija board, Wayne, is scary to me. Like I do think if you dabble and you play, you could, because I believe solely in I like demons. Like I believe in that. Like. Because of the way I was raised, the faith and so I don't like to play around. I don't want to bring something on myself that I don't want. So
I've said it so many times. That's the reason I don't get involved with paranormal investigations is just that fear, that terror that I have that something will latch on and I'll bring it home to my kids, my family. And I couldn't forgive myself. I want nothing to do with that. I played around with Ouija boards as a kid. Never really got anything. Always felt like it was either me or my brothers moving it. I won't do it as an adult. I mean, you could probably talk me into it. Right circumstance, I might do it, but
Morristown, that's where they filmed Evil Dead. You in, Wayne?
Oh yeah. No. Is that where they filmed Evil Dead?
That's where they filmed Evil Dead. Part of the exterior scenes and stuff are all filmed down there. The inside stuff was filmed in Michigan in a gymnasium.
Oh wow!
About the original Evil Dead?
Yeah, the original Evil Dead.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Yeah. Zack brought up Morristown, we're going to be in Morristown, Tennessee, at the end of the month at the East Tennessee Paracon. Brian and I got a booth. We're going to be up there, and Zach's going to maybe stopping by there. So,
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't know. Like, I mean, I'll go ahead and say, yeah, we'll be there. I'll be there.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else will be with me, Wayne.
Yeah. I stopped before I got to that. That's
You're
how
good.
professional I am.
You're so smooth. Well, you want to know how professional I am? It's after 8, and my phone didn't have an alarm this time.
Aw.
Yay. Aw.
Did you
I'm
cut
gonna
it
get
off?
chewed out for you guys.
Yeah, man, that's attachments, man. I really, really believe that happens to people. I really do.
When I was in law enforcement, like my partners used to make fun of me because I would keep like this thieves oil with me all the time and sage. And we'd go into like a meth house and I'd come out and I would either sage myself or I would use this oil and then they started doing the same thing. And because you're going into a really evil environment in those meth labs and those meth houses. And I'm just like, nope. I'm going to get all this negativity off of me when I get done.
I mean,
Yeah, Naoma made the comment here. I missed it. She blamed the fact that she played with a Ouija board as a kid for most of the greater sorrows in her life. And that's deep right there.
oh my gosh. You know what? It just gave me chills because I'm thinking about it. Like, I've not got, like, work slowing down. I'm not getting calls right now for work. And I did that like in November.
Sage.
What if I've jinxed myself? Yeah, I gotta sage it. But
Sage.
Russell's like old back name is Sage. So maybe, that was his old backer name. So maybe he's my Sage.
There you go.
So you were playing with the Ouija board back in
November. Yeah.
In Alaska.
What were you? I mean, were y'all on a show? Was you filming, or were y'all just like goofing around?
We were filming, but it was like, this was us, like daylight was 4 hours. So we only had 4 hours to really shoot. Spent a lot of time in the dark in these cabins, and we were all eating. And the cabin rental that we were staying in, people leave games and books and all this stuff. And we saw a Ouija board, and it's like, let's just do it. Why not? And I mean, how many ghosts are going to travel all the way to Alaska?
Phoenix apparently did.
Yeah, right. But yeah, it was right around Thanksgiving. So let me see. You guys, we'll talk while I'm gonna look for this if I got something. I don't know how to send it to you, Wayne, but also while we're doing that, I'll just say when Russell and I were investigating this past weekend, in one of the videos we were recording, well, in all the videos, you can hear it across all the cameras. We were talking about what we believed was making the noise. We were in a tunnel, and you could hear this weird noise, and we were like, I'm not sure that it's anything. We said it seems like it's an echo, like we're just like whatever we're doing, our feet on the rocks or whatever, it's echoing in the cave. And didn't hear it while we were there, but looking at the videos later, like while one of us is talking, you hear something just say echo. And it's like, what? That was weird. Yeah. So spoiler alert when that video comes out.
Wow. Now, Zack, remind us, the videos that you talk about, y'all just share that on your social media, right?
Yeah. We just post those online just to have because since we've done the show together, we've kind of created that bond of like, well, let's go investigate together, Yeah. And when we have time, we'll do that. And something we will probably do until, sadly, one of us becomes that ghost or whatever, It's like,
Lisa, you let's give Zack a couple minutes to do what he's doing. You ever had any experience with a Ouija board as a young girl?
Well, yeah. I mean, I was a teenage girl, and I think that's just a rite of passage for all teenage girls to play with Ouija boards. I don't know. I mean, I think it's like a collective of your subconscious, like for both of the people using it, that's making it move. But I never really had anything like tell me something profound or anything like that. When I was I will tell you a college story while he's looking for that. When I was in college, I DJ'd at the college radio station, and it was up on the third floor. And I did like the 10 to midnight shift. And I was up there completely by myself, on a weekend. And I heard piano music. And so the radio station and the music department were kind of connected. And I knew there were like rooms, where people could go rehearse. And so I put on like 5 songs. I walked down the hall to see who was up there with me because it was late. I wanted to know who was up there, and not a soul up there. And I could keep hearing that piano music in one of the rehearsal rooms. And I walked in all the rehearsal rooms and nobody was there. And then when I got back to the DJ booth, somebody started playing the piano again. And I ended up calling my boyfriend at the time. I'm like, you need to come up here. I'm like, I'm not alone. So when Zack was telling that college story about them being on stage, it reminded me of that piano music, whatever was up there playing the piano.
Yeah.
See, and piano music's already kind of haunting on its own,
Yeah.
And I don't know if I told you guys this last time. I may have touched on it, but like, I was reaching out to see if there were any paranormal things that happened around my house that I was currently living in. I didn't want to know if they happened around my house. When I was living there, I wanted to know if anybody around me had ever had anything. And man, people started like just sending me these messages of stuff that's like happened. And then they would be like, oh, it happened here though. And like 4 or 5 people. And that's a lot. That's more than needs to say, oh, this stuff happened right there in this spot. And that spot was my house, my location, my land, my property. I was like, no, I don't want to know these stories. Like, tell me something like 40 miles away. Like on this. Like, and so, now I at the house, I'll, take everything as like, well, maybe that's something else, like if we hear something out in the yard or out in the bottom or on the hill. And Russ and I did an interview with a fella that was local, and he had told this story about how his mom had seen a Bigfoot, or had a neighbor that seen a Bigfoot, and the neighbor had came by a few times, and he opened the door one day and it was on the porch, and he took the axe that they had next to the door and chopped its arm off, and then eventually killed it. And it wasn't a Fish and Wildlife because it didn't exist then. It was like 57, 59, something like that. The state, the government, somebody came, took this body to check it, and then they never seen or heard of it again. But when this fella told us this, he's like, well, my mom lived here, and the house that that the neighbor lived in was here, and it was on this rock, and my house that I currently live in is right in the middle of those. Like, I can see both of those places. And I'm like, oh, and nobody lives in those now. Like, one house is just the foundation, and the other house is just garbage where it was, tore down and all that. And I'm like, oh man, I'm all alone out here in this creepy spot. So sorry, that was a random thought.
Yeah, Zach, I just got that you sent me. Unfortunately, it's a video. I can't share.
Okay. What? So in that video, the whole point of that was just to show you like the setup we had and how I tried to tell him like go into it fun. And so our buddy, he just like he's like, I'll set some mood music, and he turns on like a thunderstorm playing in the background. I'm like, well, that's ominous.
So, what other stories you got, Zack? We still got time.
Man. Let's see. I mean, you tell me one. I want to hear one from you.
Probably the most creepy thing that has ever happened to me in my life. I've only talked about it to just a very few people because I don't know how to label it. I don't know if it's a ghost story or what. It was a dream. It was a dream that I had. I was young, teenager, everybody knows the song Inner Sandman by Metallica. Well, this is when that song first came out. I'm having this dream. I'm at this Metallica concert, and there's this song playing. And everybody's going crazy. There's a mosh pit, jumping up and down, a great time, headbanging, all that crap that we used to do as kids. And all of a sudden, I've never heard that song before. What was playing? There was just a song on, and all of a sudden, everything goes black, and I realize I'm dreaming. But everything is black, and I start to hear this evil laugh. And I'm terrified, and I'm trying like hell to open my eyes. I don't know if it was, what's the term? Sleep paralysis. I don't know if that's what I was having, but I could not make myself open my eyes. I couldn't. And this music is going on, and there's this evil laugh in my ear, and I went from having a great time to just the most scared I've ever been in my entire life. And eventually I open my eyes, I wake up, I'm freaked out, and I swear to God, I go into the living room, make my bowl of honeycombs, whatever cereal I was eating that morning, put it on MTV, and they talk about the world premiere of Metallica's new song, Inner Sandman. And that's the song that was playing in my dream. I swear to God, I had never in my life heard that song before. It was playing. It was brand new to me in my dream. And then that was the morning they debuted it on MTV.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Got no way of explaining it. I don't know, ghost story or what. I don't know.
I mean, I don't even know how to explain that. That's almost prophetic.
Yeah.
Zach, what's the scariest thing that you've experienced? Besides the little girl in your car, that, like I said, that car would still be sitting there.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of stuff is just scary and creeps me out. I mean, I don't know. That's a tough one because I've told you most of the stuff. I'm sure other stuff will hit me later. I'll be like, oh, I should have told him this one or this one or this one. But the scariest, I mean, it probably would be, at least I don't know. Like I stay scared. Lawrence remembers that.
Yeah, that Lawrence is my brother.
Oh,
He remembers, I guess we're talking about that. Yeah.
See, look at that. You just got justified.
Yeah.
I like it. That's nice.
Yeah, my brother came to the rescue. Thanks, buddy. What about, it's just, since we're talking about random creepy crap that's happened in our life, you have any experience with doppelgangers? That's something that just fascinates and freaks me out. Just fascinating as hell.
Like, like the skinwalker doppelganger? No, doppelganger? Or just like seeing like somebody that looks like somebody else. You're like, oh gosh.
Like yourself. Yeah, or like
that's like one of my biggest fears, Wayne. Like one of the stories somebody told me about my area when I was just talking about that was like they said that they were in the woods and they heard somebody calling out to them, but it was their voice. And I was like, I don't want that. No, I ain't had no experience. I don't want to have experience with that. It's like the worst thing ever because I know I'm the only me.
God, this is how freaking weird this is right now. I just bring up doppelganger. And John Baranchuk, my friend, very good friend, Dr. John Baranchuk, right there. Good question. He just popped up. He is the one that has the doppelganger story that I'm about to tell. And he hasn't been on. He hasn't been talking this entire time.
No, I've been paying attention.
Oh, my God. What is going on?
Well, John, now you got to tell the story.
I know, John. I hope you don't care, buddy. You shared it live when you were a guest on the show, so I don't think you'll care. But John was on an investigation with the BFRO, and they were I'm not going to give locations or anything. That's all confidential. But there was a graveyard, an old cemetery at this location, and there was several people in this group, about 6 or 7 people, and one of them was a man and his younger daughter. She was either late teenager, early 20s, somewhere in there, and an adult, but young. She was with him. and they go walking up this trail to get to this cemetery. And I've been there. It's a creepy ass place. It's the tombstones, I think, from like the late 1700s, early 1800s, and it's all one family. And this is in the state of Georgia, but that's all I'm going to give you. But they're walking up this trail, and they're all talking. All 6 or 7 of them that are all together, they're all conversing with each other. They get to the top where the graveyard is. They spend 15, 20 minutes there, looking around, taking pictures and all this stuff. And they turn around and start walking back down. Well, the trip down is only like 30 yards, 30, 35 yards. And about halfway down, the guy with the daughter realizes my daughter's not with us anymore. So he starts freaking out, and they're all calling for her, yelling, "Hey, so-and-so, looking for her." Well, they all figure, well, something's got to happen. Something's happened. Let's just get to the car and try to call her or whatever. They get back down to the end of the trail, and she's sitting at the truck, at the car. She's sitting there. And they ask her that, "How the hell did you just beat us down here?" She said, "I didn't go with y'all. I've been here the whole time." So they were communicating. They were walking with and communicating with her, but she didn't go.
Yeah,
She was sitting at, yeah.
That is the craziest thing I've ever heard.
John just said, there, go for it. So he gave me permission to share that story.
See,
but yeah,
see that kind of reminds me, like my uncle. He told us this story that his mom would tell him, and she said that this is back in the days when people would ride across the mountains on horseback, and she was at home. Oh wait, I'm going to read this. Oh, the Wendigo. Yeah. See, that's scary too. I made a funny joke about the Wendigo the other day, but to Russell, that's why I remember. But anyways, so she said that her parents were leaving, and she was to take, her uncle was supposed to come over, and she was to take care of him when he got there. You know, fix him some food, whatever he needed. They left on horseback. You know, day or two passes. Her uncle comes in. She sees him. You know, hey. He goes into the barn. He never comes in the house. You know, she's ready to make him food or whatever. He never comes into the house. She's like, that's weird. Maybe he left. You know, her parents finally make it back in, and they're like, "Oh, we have bad news. You know, your uncle passed away like over a week ago." And like, she's like, "Well, I saw him. He came here." Like, no, he fell off his horse and broke his neck. And you know, and I'm telling the story, I'm butchering it. Like, it's like a really good story. I wish she could tell you. But like, that's what that made me think of, Wayne, was like how, you know, you see these things that can mimic, like he was saying, real people. And that's scary.
Yeah, I mean, could that be it? Could what you're seeing, like this doppelganger, could that be something that's mimicking another person? Or sometime recent, I've heard someone talking about doppelganger as being your future self, as like you step through like a time warp or something, and it's really you, but it's you in the future.
Or I mean, what is it they say with like deja vu and stuff? Like we're getting too close to like that parallel dimension or parallel universe, so it's kind of like those consciousnesses are kind of mixing together. And, you know, what if that doppelganger is actually just like, you know, a different universe? It saw itself through. Like, this is what would have happened if that girl went up that path, you know? And it's so close to that universe that, you know.
Yeah, John just shared what's weird is they all were talking to her on the way up while up there and on the way down until she disappeared near the end and had never left to go up.
Wow.
That story always freaked me out.
See, I would have been like that girl that's sitting there, and that's you're not real. You're staying here. Get your ride home. We'll see you later. Like, and see, this is what I do, you guys. Like, things that really scare me and really make me uncomfortable, I get funny. I get jokey. Like that's my humor hides all my fear. And that's why on the show you hear Russell say something like, you want to go towards it? Like, no, I'm like, no, man. Like the stuff they don't play on TV is like me talking too much. Like, Russ, I don't like this. Let's talk. So that's why I get all weird.
Yeah, sense of humor. I mean, that's how we deal with a lot of stuff. I deal with grief with my sense of humor. You know, like dealing with like tragedies and stuff. Sometimes I make a joke, and it's not always the most appropriate. I've gotten, grabbed at a few times in my life for being, inappropriate. But it's just how I deal with it. If I can laugh about it, I feel better about it.
Yeah.
And and Lisa, that's probably why I can't think of the scariest thing, because I feel like they're all scary to me, and I just tell them in a way that it's like, this is a lighthearted ghost moment.
Well,
terrifying.
Zach, what about, do you have any experiences with any other cryptids before we get out of here, other than Bigfoot?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean,
what do you think about Dogman?
I don't know. I don't know how to feel about Dogman. I've not researched Dogman enough. Like, goat legs. I don't know if that counts as a cryptid, but around here, goat legs, which was like the devil, I guess.
Oh.
But my dad told me this story once about goat legs.
I've never heard goat legs, so yeah, please tell us about.
Please tell that.
So it's essentially like Satan, half fawn from the waist down. And so my dad told me this story that when he was younger, he was in the house, he was sitting in his living room, and he hears these hoof prints going through the house, and it's just dragging an extension cord. It didn't acknowledge him. It just walked right by and disappeared into the kitchen, and he never saw it again. And then some time later, they were playing hide and go seek, and they couldn't find his little brother. And he said that when they finally found him later, he was crying inside of a closet, and they couldn't get the closet open. They had to pull until his dad came and yanked the door open, and his little brother had been tied up inside of it with an extension cord. Like the door was tied shut to the back of the wall. I don't know how, with an extension cord. That's why they couldn't get it open. And so, that was a moment with goat legs. And my cousin just down the road here, when she was a little girl, she was sitting in her kitchen, and they were all in the living room. They've told us this story. They were all in the living room, and they hear her just starting to cry, bawl her eyes out. And they're like, "There's a face with red eyes outside the window," and they're like, "That's weird because the window's really high. It's like 8 or 9 feet up. It's one of those little bitty kitchen windows." And like, that's really weird. And they go outside to look to see if anybody's out there, and there are hoof prints, and they're just going up the hill, just walking out. So, I mean, heard that stuff growing up, and we always, I guess, would look for goat legs or, be weary of it. And so that's not my experiences with it, but that's the only other thing, really, I grew up outside of, Bigfoot and ghosts that,
So, goat legs essentially is like a boogeyman.
Yeah, I grew up thinking he was the devil. It was just the devil just appearing or something, But, I've heard in Louisville, there's a story of the goat man, or what is it?
There's a bridge, isn't there?
Yeah, the bridge, he haunts under the bridge, but he's not goat legs, he's goat man. But we always called him goat legs, and my dad would always tell us the story with the snollygosters. So
snollygosters,
yeah, and people were like, "What's a snollygoster?" And I really can't explain what it is, but from what Dad would tell us, it's actually similar to what people would say was the Jersey Devil.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the Jersey Devil, but smaller, and would be around here. A little snollygoster. He'd always tell us, don't go to sleep. That snollygoster will come to them vents.
At the beginning of were you gonna say something, Lisa?
Well, I was going to say two things. Kevin says it sounds like Jody from the Amityville Horror, which that movie scared the hell out of me as a child with the pig in the rocking chair and the eyes. But in Native American lore, especially around here and like in Oklahoma, they have, and I'm going to butcher the name, but it is a half woman, half deer.
Deer
And they
woman.
call her either the antelope woman or the deer, medicine deer woman. Like I said, I'm going to butcher the name so y'all don't come at me for not knowing it. But in Native American lore, there is this woman that is half deer, and she always brings like bad omens, bad things.
You know, I'm getting creeped out about tonight because I was just about to talk about the short stories. I mentioned the short stories I do. Dear Woman was one of them I did. Lisa, I've covered her. And
we've
goat,
not talked about that at all. That's so crazy.
goat legs and what is it?
The
Snollygoster?
Snollygoster.
Snollygoster. I got those written down to look up to try to do some short stories on those. So I don't know, man. Tonight's been creepy.
Yeah.
John with the doppelganger story and
That blows my mind, that doppelganger. I mean, those things always creep me out anyway, but that really was a creepy story. But your little girl in the car, I still can't get over that one. That one.
Yeah, that's still a legitimate fear I have. Sometimes I'm like, oh, hit the unlock button, something in there. Like,
we had a sheriff's deputy one time, and Wayne, I think I told you the story. He got on the radio. We were setting up to do like a drug interdiction. Some people were moving product, and he gets on the radio yelling and screaming. He's hit somebody. He's on the radio saying he has hit somebody. And we all fly over to this location. There's nobody there. He is looking right. He is stopped in the middle of the road in he had like a Chevy Trailblazer, and he is walking around that Trailblazer. He's walking to the ditch. He's freaking out. And this is a seasoned officer who is freaking out, thinking he has hit somebody. And we're looking, I mean, there's no damage to the front end of the vehicle. There's nobody. There's nobody. And then come to find out later, there had been reports in that part of the road of people thinking they'd hit somebody in that road. And it's a girl, and there was a girl killed there at that road. When I was in high school, she fell out the back of a truck. They'd been at a keg party. She was drunk, fell out the back of a truck, and she died there on that road. But this was a seasoned law enforcement officer who thought he saw this, got on the radio saying he had hit somebody, and nothing there.
wow. Guys, this show has been fun. I've enjoyed doing this, sharing, swapping stories like this. I enjoyed this.
well, it sounds like I said, you're somewhat prophetic. Why don't you like have a vision of me getting like $1 million?
Did you just call me pathetic, man?
Oh no, man.
All right. We are over the hour mark. What I tell y'all, it's gonna fly by, and it certainly did. Zach, I appreciate it, buddy.
Yes.
Oh, this is fun, guys. I'm glad you had me on again. I appreciate it.
Come back anytime. We love you.
Open invitation, buddy. It really is. Love to have you back.
I'll definitely come back.
All right, buddy. You be safe out there in the woods, and make Russ watch out for you and be your bodyguard.
Oh, I'll do it. We'll see you guys.
Bye.
Zach's he's a good dude.
Oh, he's so funny. And just the stories. I mean, he's such a good storyteller.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I got chills like a couple of times tonight. I'm just sitting here. I'm like, ah.
Yeah. I'm glad that he did come back and share some of the paranormal stuff. I was a little worried that we would have enough to get a whole show out of it, but we absolutely did.
No, I think we could get another one out of it just with the stories that he has, and your friend with that doppelganger story. That is so scary and creepy and weird.
I wish he could tell it, because he obviously, having experienced it, he can tell it better. But he shared it on one of the times he's been on the show to share his experiences.
No, that's crazy.
All right, let's get out of here, ma'am. You have a good weekend.
You have a good weekend too, and thank all y'all for getting on here tonight. We had so many people on here tonight. It was a great show.
Yeah, it really was. Thanks again to the audience. Had a few newbies tonight.
Yes.
So I appreciate it. Hope y'all will come back.
Definitely. Y'all have a good weekend.
Y'all take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.